For number 1, they gave us this equation and this domain. They told us to find the range. So you could have done a couple different things. Put each of these numbers into x and find each y and then list them out. You could have used your table in Desmos or in your calculator. If you were to put this in y equals and then go into your table and find these x values, you can easily find your y values. Same thing with Desmos. I'm going to quickly just write these as putting these in. So 2 times negative 3. Let's do different colors. Why not? 2 times negative 2. 2 times 0. And 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. 2 times 0 is 0. Plus 4 is 4. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. So when we list out our range, it has to be least to greatest with no repeats. So that would equal negative 2, 0, 4. Do we have any questions on that one? For number 2, you need to identify whether each of these were functions. You could use your vertical line test. If it touches at more than one place, it's not a function. If it touches at only one place, it is a function. Would this one be a function?
No.
No. Touches at more than one place. Would this one be a function?
Yes.
Yes. What about the last one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Number 3, you need to find the slope of this line. So negative 2 minus 3 over negative 5 minus 2 would give us negative 5 over negative 7. The negatives would cancel just to become positive 5 over 7, and that would be the slope. That looks weird, but. Questions on number 3? So it's supposed to say y, but that's okay. We'll do both just in case anyone will ask. For number 4, you need to find the x and y intercepts of this line. That means put 0 in for one of them. So let's say you chose x first, you put 0 in for x, this would become 0. And then you could solve for y by dividing both sides by negative 6. So that y would equal 2. And then you would need to put them as ordered pairs, so your y would be 0, 2. And then you would do the same thing for the other one. If you remember that you're putting 0 in for x, or putting it in for y in this case, I could skip these 2 steps. Remember that I'm putting 0 in for y, that term is going to become 0, and just set 3x equal to negative 12, and solve for x. And then write that as an ordered pair. have any questions on number 4? Javier. Put 0 in for one of the variables and solve. So because it's an intercept, if it were to fall on the x or y axis, that means the other number has to be 0. That's where it comes from.
Okay.
And then once you do that, put 0 into the other variable and solve. Okay. So for this one, it didn't say solve for y, so I'll let you choose. Did anyone solve for x? Okay. So we'll do both. So if you were solving for y, you would need to get rid of your x term, add 3x on both sides. So this would become negative 3y equals 3x plus 9. And then divide everything by negative 3. Oops, I should have did that separately. So your y would equal negative x minus 3. And then we could do the same thing for x. If we were solving for x, we would do the opposite, move y to the other side. Of course, if you solve for y, you don't need to do this part, but if you solve for x, double check your work. So we would add 3y to both sides, so this would be negative 3x equals 3y plus 9. And then we would divide everything by negative 3. So x would equal negative y minus 3. It'd basically be the same, except if it's x, there needs to be y in the equation. If it's y, it needs to be x in the equation. Questions on number 5? Alright, take out your maze or make sure that's in front of you. Get out either the same piece of paper you are working the maze on, or get out another piece of paper if you don't know where that is. And we are going to continue that. So I know we started with this one. And what was the answer we got? 375. That means we are going down. Great. Take a second, read this. Okay, put your notes open. Okay, make sure you're paying attention to this too. What did we find was important here? Your number. left the donut shop makes $10.25 per hour. What else?
At the bookstore, he makes $8.75 per hour.
Okay. Anything else that's important? Total hours.
And 196.
196 is total he made. And what are we looking for?
How many hours he worked at the bookstore?
Work at the bookstore. So I believe we did this one by elimination. So this one we're going to either do by substitution or graphing. So let's vote. Anyone on substitution? 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyone on graphing? Substitution it is. That means the next one is automatically graphing. Okay. So first we need to define our variables. We can call them B and D. X and Y, it doesn't matter. And what do these variables represent?
He works there. He is donut shop.
What specifically about the bookstore or about the donut shop? The hours he worked there. That's what we don't know. We can say number of hours. Oh, I cannot write that. Work at bookstore. And number of hours worked. So we have our variables. Now we need to set up our equations. We have 4 numbers. When you have something with 4 numbers, that means 3 of them are going to go together. 1 of them is going to be a total, and you're just going to have variables with that. What 3 numbers are going to go together? Boo?
10, 25 per hour, 8, 75, 196.
Yes. All of the money goes together. So that would be 10.25. And since we don't know the number of hours he worked at the donut shop, it's going to be D. Plus our 875 B, as in boy, equals our 196. And then how would we set up the other one?
Plus
Yes. D plus D equals 20. Because 20 is the total number of hours he worked. B and D are both representing hours, so we can put those together. We said we're going to do this one by substitution, and we're looking for the hours worked at the bookstore, right? So if we were to make this a D equation, put D in, all of the D's would disappear and we would end up with B. So we're going to solve the opposite of what we're looking for, and we're going to end up with what we're looking for. So take this equation, make it a D equals equation by getting rid of B. You could put 20 minus B, or you can put negative B plus 20. Both are the same thing. since we are substituting, we're going to take this expression 20 minus b, and we're going to put this into where d is. So that is going to be 1025 times 20 minus b plus 875b equals 196. From there, we can now solve for b. Someone multiply 1025 and 20 and then we get
205.
just 205. Yes, but it'd be negative. Okay. Now we need to combine our like terms. Combine those. Tell me what that would give us. Be careful because this one's negative. If they were both positive, it would be negative. $1.5. Okay, so now we can start solving this for b. Subtract 205 on both sides. No, come on. Because I can't get that math right. Negative. Negative, yeah. And divide. What is b? So figure out what that is. If you want me to write this down. Thank you. It's what? 6. And this is hours. That means we're going back to this one. And this one we're going to solve by graphing. Alright. If you haven't already, take a second, read this. And what important things have we found here?
12 calories per minute. And and 10 calories per minute on the treadmill.
12 calories for the elliptical and 10 calories for the treadmill.
And 1 hour, if she worked for 1 hour, it's 676 calories.
Hour, 670 calories, and we're looking for
How many minutes she spent on the
So since we're solving this by graphing, we're going to make our variables x and y just for ease. If you want to make them e and t, you're still more than welcome to do that. So let's say, what do these variables represent? I was going to say it, but I want you to tell me.
To go on the treadmill.
What about them
how
specifically?
many calories she burned per minute?
Is the calories what we don't know?
Minutes.
The minutes we don't know. So how many minutes spent on the elliptical, how many minutes spent on the treadmill? The setup for this one is going to be very similar to the donut bookshop. Anyone want to take a guess as to how we would set up one of the equations?
12E and 10, what?
Your e, my x, but yes.
12E and 10T equals 676.
Calories go together. 12 calories, 10 calories, 676 calories. Those all go together. And then what about our other equation?
E plus T equals minutes 16.
So this one, in my case, would be x plus y. It tells us 1 hour, but everything else was in minutes. 1 hour is 60 minutes, so this would equal 60. Okay. For sake of time, I'm just going to use Desmos. I know you all don't have Desmos out right now. Pretend that you did, because you'll have it on the test. So I'm not going to convert these to slope intercept form. I'm going to leave it just like this, and I'm going to put this into Desmos. While I'm thinking about this, I feel like I mentioned this to this class and second period, or maybe I just said it to second period. I don't remember. We were talking about tests, and someone asked, so I really only need to know like one of the methods, algebraic methods, substitution or elimination, and I believe I said yes. That was wrong. So for the algebraic section of the test, there will be specific questions that say use substitution or use elimination. So you will need to know how to do both. Just keep that in mind. 12x plus 10y. Is that right? Or did I switch those?
No, they're fine.
Okay. Equals 676 and x plus y equals 60. These are not in my screen. I see 38 and 22, so that's what I would write down, 38 and 22 as an ordered pair. Not that one. So that means on the elliptical, we spent 38 minutes. I'm sorry, what did the question ask? Yeah, on the elliptical.
How many minutes did she spend on it?
For this one, because it didn't ask for both, the 22 is not really necessary. But put it down if you solved it by graphing, that way I know that's what you did. Okay. Now we can choose again whether we want to solve this by substitution, elimination, or graphing.
Solve it.
Hmm.
You need to solve it.
No, we don't. We could.
And we will.
We won't solve this one. For sake of time.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you already did, that's great. But no, we don't need to solve this one because there's only one answer. So we know it's going to be 27. I would say eventually go back and maybe retry that problem because it is similar to the problem, the example problems we did. That one is. I think before we had dimes and quarters though, and this one is nickels and quarters, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so now we're doing marching band. We know it can't be 22, so we can eliminate that one. Because we already went to that one. Alright, read that and then we'll find the important information. What was important now?
Trace sold 7 poinsettias and 3 wreaths and raised $201. Molly sold 4 poinsettias and 6 wreaths and raised $252. The question is, how much is a poinsettia?
Okay. Do we want to solve this by substitution, graphing, or elimination? If you are for substitution, again, raise your hand. 1. Elimination, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Graphing, raise your hand. Elimination 1. We need 2 variables. We call them P and W, X and Y, does not matter. What would P and W represent? Go ahead. Say that one more time. Amount of poinsettias. Yeah, amount. And cost of. I've never spelled this word. P-O-N-S-E-T-I. Okay. So we're looking for how much it costs. When you have 6 numbers, all of the numbers get used in both of your equations. Anyone want to take a guess as to how we would set either one of these up?
$7P plus 3W. Is that the one?
7P plus 3W
Equals 309. And then the second equation is 4P plus 6W is 270. Sorry, 252.
Yep. sometimes deciding how you're going to solve it before you see the equation is not the best, but this would probably be good for elimination, just because you could multiply them and then start to solve it from there. Substitution, not so much, because you're going to end up with fractions. Graphing, kind of same thing. I mean, unless you use decimals, then it wouldn't matter. We are looking for the cost of a poinsettia, right? So we're going to get rid of W so that we end up with P. So we need to think of a number that both of these go into. 12. So we would multiply the first by 4 and the second by 2. We have 28P plus 12W equals 804. Double check that. And then the second one, 8P plus 12W equals 400. Someone said it, but I didn't hear what you said. 505. 505 or 4? Because I can't hear. Would we add or subtract here? Subtract. So this would give us 20P. These would cancel. This would give us 300. And we could divide. How much do the poinsettias cost? 15. I feel like someone just said that, but I didn't really hear it. Sorry. So a while ago, when we were first doing word problems, we were doing these problems, these length and width problems. Those were really systems word problems. We were just getting a head start on them. So the process in which we solved them before is the same. Here we don't really need to define our variables because they're going to be L and W. Graphing, we'll decide after we set it up. What's important here?
And the rectangle 1 inch less than 3 times its width. And the perimeter of the rectangle is 54 inches. And finally,
So for this, we need to remember that we first need to set up the equation for the length. 1 inch less than 3 times the width. How would we set that up?
3x minus 1.
We use L and W, but if you use X and Y to tell me what each one means. So L equals 3W minus 1. Then we also need our equation for perimeter. Does anyone remember what that is?
2L plus 2W equals what's the difference? 54?
Yeah. So in general, the perimeter is 2L plus 2W equals P, but we know our P is 54, so we're going to put that in. Looking at how these are set up, which method would be really good for these equations? Of the two that we haven't used in this round so far. Javier?
Substitution.
So, yes, Kat did say that. I just wanted to make sure we all heard it. So we're going to substitute this in, just like we were doing before, so that part's not really new, we just didn't really put words to it before. So this will be 54 equals 2 times our 3W, that was the weirdest 3 anyway, plus 2W. And then we can solve for W. Now in this case, we were asked to find our length. So when we solve W, we have to go back and put it back in to find our L, which is fine. It's another step. So here we have 54 equals 6W minus 2 plus 2W. Combine your like terms so that you're adding 6 and 2. You get 8. Plus add 2 on both sides. And divide both sides by 8. The W equals 7. Was there a unit there? Inches, centimeters? Okay. But the question didn't ask to find the width, we have to find our length, so we're going to take that, put it back into our equation for L. And what would L equal? 20 inches. Alright. Read this. Tell me what's important. Thank you, guys.
Which way to put 2 points. And short response for 3 points each. A total of 43 options on the test. Test is 100 points. How many short response questions are there?
Okay. And we are going to solve this one by graphing. So we can say M and S, C and R, X and Y. I'm just going to use X and Y because we're graphing. These would represent what? Number of quiz questions,
Short response.
and number of short responses. and put MC and SR for sure. Right. With this one, you have, is going to be set up similarly to these two. Your 43 total questions is going to go with number of questions. And then total points is going to go with the number of points. So how would we set this up? Okay, go ahead.
2x plus 3y equals 100, and then x plus y equals 43.
We have total number of points should equal whatever the point values are, and then total number of questions should equal what the questions represent. Great. We're going to put this into Desmos. Again, pretend you have Desmos in front of you. Yes, you could do this one easily in your calculator because the numbers for the first one aren't too bad. You're still going to end up with fractions. So just keep that in mind if you were to use your calculator. Nine and 14. And we were looking for short response. So that would be our Y. So 14 short response questions. I know many of you were hoping that we would end. Sorry. If you're running out of room and need more paper, you feel free to grab some from the back, or if you have some, pull it out. Read through this one. Tell me what's important. What was important here?
Average speeds. So 60 miles an hour.
Then average 60 miles per hour.
London average 56 miles.
You have totals.
It took 14 hours.
Any other totals?
Driving on the 820 miles.
So usually those totals are together, but in this case they did not put them together. Be on the lookout for that. And then what are we looking for?
How many hours did it have?
How many hours did land? You can use L and B, X and Y, does not matter, and then we'll decide on how we want to solve this once we set it up. I'm going to W's, B, and L. What do these represent? Yeah, how many hours they go through. Then we need equations. Anyone want to take a guess as to how this set these up? Go ahead, Christina.
Plus 56L equals the
And the other one?
B plus L equals 14.
Yes. Okay. Really, all three methods would work here. Which one do we want to use? Graphing? Okay. Anyone else choose a different one? Graphing it is. But because we chose B and L, we have to make these X and Y. Doesn't matter which one you make which. Just be consistent. So if I make my B's X, all of them have to be X, and then make my L's Y. So I'm going to rewrite my equation with my X's and Y's. And then put this into Desmos and figure out our answer. X plus 56Y. Equals 820. And X plus Y equals 4. 9 and 5. So X is 9, Y is 5, but we have to remember which one is which. Here I made my B's X, and we're looking for Landon, so Y is L. We also could have eliminated some of our answers because from this one we can't go back to 18, can't go back to 7, can't go back to 10. If we went up to 16, we would get stuck. So there had to have been 5 out of 4, but 5 was our answer. This one we don't need to solve because there's only really one answer we could do. Right, so our final answer would be 12. Now, there were a few we did not do. This one, this one, this one, where we were just told our answers. And then there was one that was skipped over completely. I want you to try those 4 on a separate sheet of paper. Make sure you get the answers that we did. How you solve those is completely up to you. If you finish those, you can work on your Khan Academy or Delta Math. Your Khan Academy is due on Friday. And then Delta Math is due next fall. Let me know if you have any questions.